voices the wind, breathe peace into my soul. Guide my hands to respect all of life and to walk in the beauty of our world. Honor the earth, our mother, for it is she who sustains all life. Woe away, 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 woe away. O Great Spirit, who resides within, I awake to a new dawn. Anam Kara, 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 Anam Kara. I see you. You see me. I know you. You know me. Anam Kara, Anam I am a piece of the world. I am at peace with the world. I am the peace. I am the peace. I am the peace of the world. I am a piece of the world. I am at peace with the world. I am the peace. I am the peace. I am the peace of the world. I am the one. I am. I am the one. I am the one. I am the one. I am. I am a piece of the world. I am at peace with the world. I am the peace. I am the peace. I am the peace of the world. I am the one. I am. I am the one. I am. I am the one. I am the one. I am. I am. Peace be still. Peace be still. Peace be still. Peace be still. Still be peace. Still be peace. Still be peace. Still be peace. Be here now. Be here now. Be here now. Be here now. Now here be. Now here be. Now here be. Now here be. I am light. I am light. Light I am, light I am, light I am, I am love, I am love, I am love, I am love, love am I, love am I, love am I, love am I. Peace be still, peace be still, peace be still, peace be still, still be peace, still be peace, still be peace, still be peace. Flat out, wide open, all in, count loud, one bound, unbroken, one life, right now. Flat out, wide open, all in, out loud, one bound, unbroken, one life, right now. Gonna live my life unapologetically, gonna take advantage of all I ought to be, gonna show the world my potentiality, gonna do it now, not eventually. Flat out, wide open, all in, out loud, one bound, unbroken, one life, right now. Gonna live my life with grand audacity, gonna take advantage of what's inside of me, gonna show the world my possibility. voices the wind. Breathe peace into my soul. Guide my hands to respect all of life and to walk in the beauty of our world. Honor the earth, our mother, for it is she who sustains all life. Woe away, 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 woe away. Woe away, 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 woe away. Woe away, woe away, woe away, woe away. O Great Spirit, who resides within, I awake to a new dawn.
Morning, and welcome to Unity in Lynnwood's Sunday morning virtual service. We're so happy that you're here with us this morning, and I just want to tell you that I am envisioning each one of you, each one of your beautiful faces, your smiles in my mind this morning as we open together in prayer. Wherever you are in your home, whether it's on a couch or a chair, a floor, or a bed, make yourself comfortable. Take a breath with me and allow your body to relax. And another breath, relaxing even more and allowing your eyes to gently close. We have taken the journey through Lent together, our 40 days of deep introspection, of asking ourselves the hard questions, of shedding some of the fears that stop us from living as boldly and bravely as we intended when we chose to clothe ourselves in these physical bodies. Lent asked us to take a long, hard, honest look at ourselves, to strip naked in front of the mirror and risk being authentic and vulnerable. What has your mirror shown you during this season of Lent? And interestingly, it seems that this year the world around us has given many of us the opportunity to see what we are made of, to see what lurks beneath the surface, has given us the opportunity to stop and see with new eyes. Are we blaming, or are we growing in compassion? Are we standing in judgment, or are we rising above our fear? Are we blindly meeting our own needs, or are we taking care of each other? Are we clinging to the past, or reaching for a brighter future together? Breathe. Lent called us to let go of old ways of being, to no longer cling to what gave us comfort, and to embrace a higher vibration of love and harmony, compassion and wisdom. Our work during Lent has brought us to a place of vulnerable openness where we can be born anew, like the caterpillar who spins its chrysalis in faith, having no idea of the stunning butterfly it is to become. During times of deep reflection, we too become open to the idea that there is more to the story, even when we have no idea what that is. No crucifixion means no resurrection. Thich Nhat Hanh tells us that most people are afraid of suffering, but suffering is a kind of mud to help the lotus flower of happiness grow. There can be no lotus flower without the mud. Today is Easter. Today is a holy time of rebirth, of being born into something new, something higher, into a fuller expression of our God selves. Today, we have the opportunity to review what we have died to during Lent and open ourselves in faith to that which we are giving birth to, or what is being birthed in us. Be not afraid. We need not fear dying to the old, for a glorious rebirth awaits us on the other side of what we confront and release. But we may need to get comfortable with being uncomfortable to get there. Be not afraid. Let us press into the energies of Easter, of spring after the dark days of winter, of rebirth after a time in the dark womb, of light after a time of darkness. We can see with new eyes. Let us see with new eyes. Wake up. Let us rise up into a new way of being. In this blessed, eternal now moment, awaken to the truth of your being with a deeper and more passionate earnestness, expectation, and open vulnerability than ever before. Know yourself as the I am, a perfect idea within the mind of God. Allow the wisdom and unconditional love that is part and parcel of your being to lift you up, bursting through the layers of the old into the bright light of a new and sacred day, a fuller expression of the divine as you. Peace be with you. And so it is.
Holy morn, rise in the desert, follow the sun, follow me down. Holy morn, rise with the eagle. I will be free. Holy morn, rise in the desert, follow the sun, follow me down. Holy morn, rise with the eagle. I will be free. I will be free. I will be free.
I'm holding images of people in my mind's eye. I find it curious that I deeply desire to say, it's nice to see you. And yet you as bodies are not here. And isn't that really the work we do in prayer, that we learn to see beyond appearances. We learn to see beyond circumstances. We learn to see beyond the perceptions of the sensory self, to perceive something of a higher truth about and in each other. Isn't that our work? So in very real ways, it's nice to see you. My name is Richard Loren Held. I'm privileged to be the spiritual director of Unity in Lynnwood. It is my great honor to welcome you to our Sunday service. For those who have children, please note that youth and family ministries gatherings are launching at this very moment as well. You may secure credentials by writing that program's director. Her name is Stacy Bailey. I understand that her email address will appear on your screen. If you have been paying attention this morning, you've noticed that we are adhering to the 6 foot distancing recommendations. We are sanitizing. Some of us are wearing masks when we are off screen. We are deeply, deeply committed to remaining safe and healthy and to keeping each other the same. I'd like to invite you to join us next Sunday for the incomparable wisdom and inspiration of our own Rabbi Ted Falcon. He's the director of our Interfaith program. The following Sunday, the Reverend Dr. Bishop Barbara King of Hillside International Truth Center in Atlanta will join us. As always, pre-service meditation will begin at 10:30 a.m. For today, what an honor it is, what a joy, what a privilege. We'll begin with a time of spiritual practice, and it's facilitated by our own Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy. I know you join me in opening your heart and extending the beauty of our welcome and thanks to her now. So that felt good here. Thank you, Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy. What a gift. Easter. What it wasn't. Let's begin with what it wasn't. Well, it was about 1,000 years after what today's Christians would call that first Easter, that this idea of substitutionary sacrifice, the idea that Jesus died for human error, appeared. The idea first appeared in writing issued by the Archbishop of Canterbury, the original followers of the way. You understand that the word Christianity doesn't appear in your Judeo-Christian Bible. The original followers of the way would not have related to such an idea whatsoever. Even the statement that Jesus gave his life for many is best heard to say that his vision of forgiveness and equality, inclusion, wholeness, peace, plenty, not just for the few, but for the many, quite simply was not for sale at any price. So maybe that alone is the gift that someone tuned in to get today. If you join us carrying decades of guilt because Jesus died for something you did wrong, allow this to be the very moment in which that psychic burden is cast into the cleansing winds of new understanding. Happy Easter. Now, what it was. Last week, we discussed that 2 processions entered Jerusalem on a spring Sunday in the year 30 or so. It was the convergence of a royal procession led by Pilate and rooted in imperial supremacy, bloody violence, and a peasant procession led by Jesus. It was rooted in universal equality, unconditional love. It was these 2 processions that inaugurated Christianity's first Holy Week, a climax to some 1,000 years of escalating tension. The stage had been set with a political oppression in which the many were ruled by the few, and an economic exploitation in which as much as 2/3 of the wealth went into the pockets of the few, and religious legitimation for all of it, a religious legitimation that went something like this: if the emperor is the Son of God, then the oppression and the exploitation must be the will of God, a faulty theology which found all but the most courageous muttering something akin to, well, I guess this must be God's will. Now, on Monday, Jesus cursed the fig tree, drove the buyers and sellers from the temple. It was on Monday that he overturned the tables of the money changers while saying, "Is it not written, my house shall be called a house of prayer for all the nations?" You understand, Jesus was cranky. On Tuesday, according to one of our accounts, Jesus offered an ongoing game of trap and escape and counterattack with the authorities. "Should we pay taxes to Caesar?" asked one, to which Jesus' yes would have alienated his peasant audience. His no would have legitimized his persecutors. So there's the attack. And he responded, "Well, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and render unto God that which is God's." And there's the escape, really, because it was understood by Jesus and many of his contemporaries that everything belonged to God. So should we pay taxes to Caesar? And Jesus cleverly answered, well, Caesar should get everything Caesar deserves. And there's the counterattack. I've often considered that of all the depictions, I'm surprised that no one has created a painting of winking Jesus, you see. Because I'm quite certain that he said, I'm quite certain he said Caesar should get everything Caesar deserves. He extended what Christians have come to call the Great Commandment. It's comprised of 2 passages from Hebrew Scriptures, and that was the only Bible he knew, you understand. The Lord is one. You shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, all your energies, and you shall love neighbor as self. He went on to tell a couple parables, and let's understand that the crowd was deeply moved by his teachings. So much so that the authorities plotted to arrest him privately. I mean, if they planned to arrest him publicly, riots were likely to ensue, and if they waited for the completion of the festival, he would likely be gone. So the authorities plotted to arrest him privately because it was their only viable option. It was on Wednesday that an unnamed woman poured expensive ointment over his head. This was a burial ritual, you understand. And an unnamed woman poured expensive ointment over his head. And she received a stunning accolade when he said, "Truly I tell you, wherever the good news is proclaimed in the whole world, what she has done will be told in remembrance of her." For of all who had heard the prophecies of his death and his resurrection, she was the first one to believe him. Now, it's not surprising for the women. It's not surprising that the women were there from the beginning of his ministry. The women were there from the very beginning, and I have to believe that we are just now beginning to recognize the ill effects of pretending that they weren't. Now, that's a Mother's Day talk, and you know me well enough to know that I would never leverage Easter as a promotion for Mother's Day. So this woman is for the writer of the Gospel of Mark, she's the first believer. For even more, she is the first Christian. Now, Thursday was marked by the Last Supper, the prayers in Gethsemane, Peter's denials, the arrest, the interrogation, the condemnation. On Friday, of course, Jesus was delivered to Pilate's soldiers. He was tortured, humiliated. He even underwent something of a mock coronation in which they clothed him in a purple cloak and crowned him, but with thorns. He was crucified. It was a form of public terrorism reserved for those who deny imperial authority, and of course he was buried. Now to this moment, the story of Jesus might have slipped into anonymity, along with those of countless other Jews crucified by the Roman Empire. But from Sunday's account, we read, when the Sabbath was over, Mary Magdalene, Mary the mother of James, and Salome bought spices that they might go and anoint him. And again, this isn't surprising, for the women were there from the beginning of his ministry, but that's a Mother's Day talk, and you know me well enough to know that I would never leverage Easter as a promotion for Mother's Day. And early on the first day of the week, when the sun had risen, they went to the tomb. They had been saying to one another, "Who will roll away the stone from the entrance to the tomb?" When they looked up, of course, they saw that the stone had already been rolled back. And from that moment, the story of Jesus established its firm place in history.
There is is one love. There is one power. There is one life eternal. God lives through me. There is one love. There is one power. There is one life eternal. God lives through me. I am that love. I am that power. I am that life eternal. God lives through me. There is one love. There is one power. There is one life eternal. God lives through me. There is one love. There is one power. There is one life eternal. God lives through me. I am that love. I am that power. I am that life eternal. God lives through me.
Now, what it is. And in our consideration of what it is, we arrive at a familiar point, a point at which we are confronted with our loyalties to facts or our loyalties to truths. As I've said so many times before, it's only been in recent years that we've felt compelled to make such a choice. Prior to the Enlightenment, the truths of a tale were never perceived to be dependent upon its facts. This is certainly true of the culture from which this narrative arose. The truths of a tale were never perceived to be dependent upon its facts. In other words, it would have been well understood that 40 meant something beyond 40, that regaining sight meant something beyond regaining sight, that haircuts would have meant something beyond haircuts. So while a loyalty to facts might stomp its feet and demand, was there really a good Samaritan who rescued a man? And was there really a wayward son who returned to his father? And was there really a whale and a giant and an ark and a leper and 7 horses? Can women really turn into salt? A loyalty to truth stands in resolve and answers it simply doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter, because a loyalty to truth understands that the spiritual value of these stories is neither inflated nor deflated by their facts. So while Easter can be perceived as a singular story about the life of Jesus, or an event which can be celebrated by some, I would offer Easter as a universal story about the life of humanity, or an event that can be celebrated by all. there seems to be an attitude in positive spirituality that if I could just get it right, I would never experience another trial. If I could just forgive enough, pray correctly, think properly, life would show up exactly as I have decreed that it should. That if I could just amass enough spiritual power, people and circumstances would happily read the scripts of infinite earthly pleasure I've written for them, that my horizon would be dotted with rainbows and pink unicorns for as far as my eye could see. But I have to say, I don't believe this attitude is supported by our study of the life of Jesus. In fact, I don't believe that this attitude is supported by our study of the lives of any of our world's courageous pioneers, spiritual or otherwise. In the end, Jesus didn't get out of the crucifixion, you see. Rather, he stepped into even this darkest of human fears. He stepped into even human death itself, that he might be able to whisper to each one of us, there is no ending that doesn't carry the promise of a beginning. There is no dusk that doesn't carry the promise of a dawn. There is no winter that doesn't carry the promise of a spring. Jesus stepped into even this darkest of human fears. He stepped into even human death itself, that he might be able to whisper to each one of us, oh, there is so much more to this. Don't be afraid. There's so much more to you. Don't be afraid. The message of Holy Week isn't that if I could just get it right, I would never experience another crucifixion. The message of Holy Week is that there is no crucifixion that doesn't carry the promise of a resurrection. I have to wonder if that's what Tolley meant when he said, awakening honors and welcomes even pain for that which it is. It is the self, conscious in the form of grace, beckoning us to abandon our limitations and to return home to boundless joy, peace, and happiness. I have to wonder if this is what Butterworth meant when he said, there is within you a person of stature, of genius, of mastery, struggling to be released. Maybe it makes some sense that this holy season is marked by a symbol, simultaneously representing both human torture and divine redemption. Maybe on some level we recognize that behind every form of suffering lurks an indescribable grace. And even the most painful things of earthly life would beckon us forth into higher versions of ourselves, that even those most compelling of endings foreshadow light-filled beginnings. I think we lost something. I think we lost something, and it started with the early church. We lost something when a politicized patriarchy distanced the ministry of Jesus by replacing follow me with Worship Me. We lost something when a politicized patriarchy distanced the ministry of Jesus by minimizing, "You are the light of the world, for I am the light of the world." We lost something when a politicized patriarchy distanced the ministry of Jesus by abandoning, "Do as I do, and the kingdom is within, and these and greater things shall you do." We lost something when a politicized patriarchy distanced the ministry of Jesus by reframing a timeless example as an ancient exception. We don't honor Jesus by gathering in buildings such as this on holy morns, such as these, uttering rote words and performing prescribed rituals. We honor his life. We honor his mission. We honor his ministry by recapturing something of what was lost. It's the great Irish poet John O'Donoghue who said it this way, and I quote, "On this Easter morning, let us look again at the lives we have been so generously given, and let us let fall away the useless baggage that we carry. Old pains, old habits, old ways of seeing and feeling. We were sent here to search for the light of Easter in our hearts. And when we find it, we're meant to give it away generously. The dawn that is rising this Easter morning is a gift. And we're meant to celebrate it and to carry from this holy place its gifts of healing and light and the very courage of new beginnings.
Christ has nobody now but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which he looks, compassion on this world. Yours are the feet with which he walks to do good. Yours are the hands with which he blesses all the world. Yours are the hands, yours are the feet, yours are the eyes, you are his body. Christ has nobody now but yours. No hands, no feet on earth but yours. Yours are the eyes through which he looks, compassion on this world. Christ has nobody now on earth but yours.
Thank you, Dr. Richard. Thank you, Matthew. And now we've come to the time in our service where we have an opportunity to stand in the flow of substance and give to our spiritual community so that it can continue to flourish and nourish us. Together we will bless our individual offerings, and then while Matthew and Dr. Richard are inspiring us with their ministry of song and sound, you will have time to access the text to give or online donation options that Laura will post for you on Facebook. So if you would, take your offering. If it's a check or cash, go ahead and just hold that in your hand. If you're planning on using one of our online or text to give options, just hold the amount in your hand as the intention. And know that both the idea or the piece of paper are simply symbols of abundance, symbols of the Spirit's substance that is rich and all around us. Close your eyes and know that you are immersed in this Spirit substance. This substance which is that out of which everything is made. And prosperity is about having a consciousness of this flow of substance. The words affluence and currency both imply flow. And this flow never ceases. And by giving, you are opening the door to receiving. You are opening yourself to the flow of this substance. Feel it flowing into you, flowing all through you, and then down your arms and into your hands, blessing that symbol in your hands, and flowing out through your fingers into the world around you, blessing your offering and surging forth to do a good work, both here at Unity in Lynnwood and in the greater world. And so it is.
I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil between me and my God. No separation, no distance at all. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. God is right here in my heart. I'm raising the veil.
Let us together hold these tithes in a high consciousness. Let them be representative of our collective knowing of plenty. And let us together bless them and release them to do a great work in the world. And so it is.
Thank you, Reverend Nina Clark. Matthew Wilson, Cameron, Jonesy, Scotty, Dr. Jennifer Lovejoy, Nadine Pierre. Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure. Thanks to Stacy. Thanks to Laura. We even have crew who are not in the building. Whew. I'm just calling next weekend Rabbi Ted Weekend. It starts with Spiritual Saturdays, his streaming service, 11 o'clock in the morning. He will also be my guest next Sunday on the 19th. That's followed by Spiritual Awakenings, a healing service. That's Reverend Nina's Wednesday service on the 22nd at 7 o'clock p.m. Also, obviously, online. And again, to reiterate, on the last Sunday of the month, the Reverend Dr. Bishop Barbara King will be my special guest. If you are not familiar with the power and breadth and history of her ministry, of her contributions to the world, check her out. New Members Weekend has been postponed, and I'd also like to introduce an exciting new idea. Reverend Nina Clark and I will co-teach a class. It's called In the Flow of Life. It begins May 1st. It is drawn from the book of the same title by the great Unity teacher and minister, Reverend Eric Butterworth. These are 1-hour classes that begin at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to accommodate our East Coast guests. And finally, the Women's Retreat featuring Ricky Byers has been rescheduled for September 25th and 26th. Everyone is welcome. This is an event that is being offered to our greater community, not simply our Unity in Lynnwood community. I believe registration is available by visiting the calendar page of our website. It's $125 or a couple $1,000 or something in between. I don't really know. Is it $125? $125, and it includes lunch. Some people spend $125 on lunch. It's a bargain. Let's close those outer eyes together, shall we? Let's close with a time of remembering. Let's close by remembering everything we hold God to be. Let's do that. Let's close those outer eyes to their stories of partiality, limitation, separation. And let us open at the same time a different quality of eye that is capable of perceiving higher truths. Let us open a different quality of eye that is capable of perceiving life. A different quality of eye that is capable of perceiving sufficiency to any apparent need. A different quality of eye capable of perceiving wisdom ever available. A different quality of eye capable of perceiving harmony. Harmony back of all things. Ever whispering, oh, there's so much more here. There's so much more to you. Don't be afraid. Don't be afraid. What a good remembering. It's an honor to be with you. It's a pleasure to see you. So we send you to your week of earthly doing with sung words of blessing.